Welcome to Bayview. Last episode, we made one of the biggest decisions of this entire road to 100% completion journey. After spending 5 episodes behind the wheel of the Corolla, we switched to the Lincoln Navigator and gave it a whole bunch of upgrades. Now comes the part that really matters. Can this giant SUV actually win races? Today, we're kicking things off with our very first SUV event. It's going to be a completely different experience compared to the lightweight cars we've been driving so far. More weight, more power, and a lot more body roll. Before we get started, if you're enjoying the series, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Nebula Core Gaming, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future episodes. And I've got a question for you. Do you think the Lincoln Navigator can become our new champion? Or will we eventually be forced to bring the Corolla back? Let me know in the comments. Now, let's head to our first SUV race and see what this beast can do.
Well, that's one way to start an SUV race. We're about 3 seconds into the event, and somebody has already attempted to turn their Hummer into an aircraft. Look at this chaos! I thought we were entering a race, not filming the next Fast and Furious stunt scene. And you know what? I'm already starting to notice the difference between the Navigator and the Corolla. The Corolla used to attack corners. The Navigator politely sends a calendar invitation to the corner and arrives 5 business days later. Everything feels heavier. The steering feels heavier, the braking feels heavier, even changing lanes feels like I'm trying to redirect a cruise ship. But honestly, that's what makes these SUV races so funny. Nobody looks graceful. We're all just giant metal buildings trying to squeeze through the same corner at the same time. The race has barely begun. The SUVs are already climbing on top of each other. And Bayview's insurance companies are preparing for their worst financial quarter ever.
End of lap 1, and somehow we're leading. A few moments ago, SUVs were climbing on top of each other. Now, the Navigator is out front setting the pace. I'm still getting used to driving this thing. Every corner feels like I'm negotiating with gravity. But it's working. 1 lap to go. The lead is ours, but in SUV racing, things can get weird very quickly. Let's bring this beast home. That's our first SUV race in the books, and I'd say the Navigator has made a pretty strong first impression. Coming into this episode, I wasn't sure what to expect. This thing is bigger, heavier, and definitely not as agile as the Corolla, but somehow it's getting the job done. Now we're heading to our second SUV circuit race, where consistency is going to be just as important as speed. The competition is only going to get tougher from here. But before we get there, I've got a question for you guys. Which vehicle would you rather race through Bayview? The lightweight Toyota Corolla or this giant Lincoln Navigator? Let me know in the comments, because right now, I'm still trying to decide whether I'm driving a race car or a luxury apartment on wheels. Let's get to the next race and keep this SUV adventure rolling. This race feels very different from the last one. Nobody's flying through the air, nobody's climbing on top of another SUV, and somehow everyone remembered how to drive. And honestly, I'm not complaining. The Navigator has settled in nicely, and we're already leading the race. The more I drive this thing, the more I'm starting to understand its personality. You can't throw it into corners like the Corolla. You have to be smooth, patient, and let the SUV do its thing. Right now, that's working perfectly. The pace is good, the track is clear, and for the first time today, Bayview's SUV racers are acting like professional drivers instead of demolition experts.
And there it is, the annual Lincoln Navigator migration. Look at this thing! A few minutes ago, I was worried about getting around corners, and now the SUV has decided roads are optional. I love how the game switches to slow motion like this is some legendary racing moment. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting here wondering how a luxury SUV wing roughly the same as a small building managed to achieve liftoff. For a brief moment, Bayview no longer has an SUV race. It has an air show. Alright, touchdown complete. Let's pretend that was 100% intentional and continue the race. That one wasn't even close. We started episode 6 wondering whether the Navigator could compete, and now it's out here winning races by enough distance to file a change of address form. The more time I spend behind the wheel of this thing, the more I'm starting to understand it. It's not as agile as the Corolla, and it definitely doesn't enjoy sharp corners, but once it gets into a rhythm, it's surprisingly effective. And let's not forget that jump on the last lap. At this point, I'm no longer driving an SUV. I'm driving a part-time race car and a part-time aircraft. Now we're heading to the third and final SUV circuit race. If things go well, we could complete a clean sweep of the SUV events. The question is, was that last race proof that we've mastered the Navigator? Or are the other drivers about to remind us that overconfidence is a dangerous thing? Let's find out.
Well, everyone got ahead of me at the start. That was nice of me. I wanted them to experience what leading a race feels like. Anyway, that's enough of that. The Navigator is already moving through the field, and it looks like their time at the front is about to expire. Hope they enjoyed it while it lasted.
This is where the Navigator comes alive. Forget corners. Forget braking. This freeway is basically one long invitation to go fast. Look at this thing move. A few episodes ago, I was driving a Corolla. Now I'm commanding a luxury apartment that's somehow traveling at rocket speed. The other SUVs are probably checking their mirrors, wondering why a small office building is approaching so quickly. On tight streets, the Navigator feels heavy. Out here on the freeway, it feels unstoppable. Lap 1 complete, and this race is starting to look a little unfair. The other SUVs had their chance at the beginning, but once we got onto the freeway, the Navigator basically turned this event into a personal road trip. The gap behind us is massive right now. In fact, I think the other drivers need a GPS just to find where I am. Fun fact, Need for Speed Underground 2 was the first game in the series to feature SUVs. Back in 2004, that was a pretty controversial decision, because many players wanted nothing but sports cars and tuner cars. Fast forward to today, and SUV races have become one of the most memorable parts of the game. And honestly, I can see why. Watching these giant machines fly around Bayview at ridiculous speeds is both impressive and slightly terrifying. Right now, though, the Navigator is absolutely in its element. The freeway is wide open, the pace is strong, and the competition is nowhere to be seen. But I've got a question for you guys. If you had to complete the entire game using only one vehicle, would you choose a lightweight tuner like the Corolla or a giant SUV like the Navigator?
All right, I just checked the gap. The driver in last place is over 1 minute behind. 1 minute! At this point, we're not racing anymore, we're operating in different time zones. I'm pretty sure the other SUVs are still on lap 1, wondering where the Navigator went. This gap is so large that if I stopped for a coffee break, checked my emails, and came back, I'd probably still be leading. The funniest part is that this thing is a Lincoln Navigator. It's supposed to be carrying families and luggage, not delivering absolute humiliation on a racetrack. Right now, the only real competition left is my ability to stay awake while driving this far ahead of everyone else.
Race over.
I
think the other racers are still somewhere on the freeway. The Navigator absolutely dominated that event. And that's another SUV race checked off on our road to 100% completion journey.
Hold on. What's that green light? That looks like a body shop, and it's right around the corner. We've never visited one before, so let's go check it out and see what Bayview has been hiding from us.
All right, Bayview. I think we've officially created a monster. We rolled into the body shop with a normal SUV and rolled out with something that looks like it escaped from a tuner convention at 3 a.m. New bumpers, side skirts, spoiler, hood, lights, mirrors, exhaust, giant wheels. If there's a customization option, we probably clicked Install Part. And the game noticed immediately. The visual rating jumped high enough that Rachel sent us a message saying our Navigator has been selected for a DVD Cover Photoshoot invitation. Imagine winning 3 SUV races in a row and suddenly becoming a celebrity. So forget the racetrack for a moment. We're heading to our next destination, the camera lens. Now here's the real question. Does this SUV actually look cool? Or have I accidentally built Bayview's most expensive refrigerator?
Check it out, bro. You just got featured on the DVD Bayview's Best.
And that's where we're wrapping up today's ride through Bayview. We conquered the SUV circuit races, turned our Lincoln Navigator into a rolling show car, and somehow ended up landing a DVD cover photo shoot along the way. Not bad for a day that started with an SUV that handled like a moving apartment building. The streets of Bayview are opening up fast, the competition is getting tougher, and trust me, the next upgrades and races are going to be absolutely wild. If you enjoyed today's episode, hit that like button, subscribe to Nebula Core Gaming, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next step of our Underground 2 journey. And before you go, tell me in the comments, what should we focus on next? More racing performance, or even crazier customization? Until next time, keep the revs high, keep the wheels spinning, and I'll see you back on the streets of Bayview.